So today, João Carlos Pereira joins me. João, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? All good?
Not bad.
Thank you
Yes, how
very
are
much
you?
for the invitation. All fine, thank you.
Good. So obviously you played back in the day, but now you're a manager. So could you start us off then with your early days growing up? What was it like for you to play football when you were younger?
Well, I started to play in my home place. It's a small little place by the beach at the Atlantic Ocean. And well, mostly I was playing with some older boys on the streets, by the church, on the beach, wherever we could, even in the forest, wherever we could have some time. And this is how I started to connect with the football game. Lately, I started to go to a small place, a small town nearby where there was a football club at the time. At the time the club was in the second league, and it was quite impressive for me at that point, because my father would take me to attend those matches, and the atmosphere, the environment was fantastic, and it had some impact on my view about the game. And it was quite natural that not long after, I was quite interested in becoming a football player at that club.
So before you started to play like proper level, did you play like a grassroots? So like were you in like a youth team?
No, I started with 11 to 12. I did not. This was my first formal contact with the game. So at that time, I don't think there were kids of 6 or even 8 playing football in football clubs, because it was something quite new in terms of player development, if we put it that way.
And did you enjoy football at that time? Because obviously 11 is quite old to get into the game. So were you playing like street football before? Or?
Yeah, I played street football. That was at school, wherever I could. So it was late for the days we are living, but at that time it was quite common. If I would have teammates that would even start later, like 14s, 15s. So at that time, football was not so organized as it is, as not only as a football industry, but also as academies to develop players.
So what is street football like in Portugal? Because I know in Spain they have it, I know in Brazil they have it. So is it any different in Portugal?
I don't think so. It's quite similar, I believe. We have one big advantage here, because the weather allows us to be out all day long. It will never be too hot. It will never be too cold. So I think it's quite the right type of climate for playing football outside. And this is where most of the players, at least from my generation, started.
And it's exactly that, because obviously on the street football it's more intense, right? You're only playing within the width of the street.
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
Yes, so like when you're playing in street football, you're only playing within the width of the street, right? So it's quite small, it's quite compact.
Yeah, look, we would have or a tree in the middle, or I don't know, the road, or a bench, something with uneven soil. This is We had a lot of constraints back then, and I believe this helped us to, at least I think, some of the creativity emerged from this type of environments. How to solve problems, how to find solutions, how to associate with a teammate, how to take advantage of the constraints in order we can overcome an opponent, etc., etc.
So in your playing career then, you did retire at 25. How would you describe your playing career? Because obviously, would you have wanted to keep going on for longer past 25?
Well, I retired 25 from professional football. I played until 32. Well, it's quite simple. Of course, I would rather even continue to play nowadays, which is not possible because my love for the game and what I was taking from any match, or training session, it's way more rewarding, more entertaining, more fun than it is as a coach or as a manager. But we have to think that back then technology, medical support was not as good as it is now, and I had a big injury. I was, I think, 21, ACL, and follow that, I found myself struggling with a lot of problems, pain, physical limitations. I lost power, I lost speed. My agility was not at the best at that moment. So I continued to struggle. I could have continued to play at a professional level, but with a lot of pain, dealing with a lot of difficulties, taking too many painkillers and anti-inflammatories, and I was not enjoying at all the course my career was taking. So back then I decided to put an end to a professional career, and I thought to go back to university and educate myself. And of course, I continued to play as an amateur, training at the end of the day, and it was not as much painful as it was before. But I struggled. Let's put it this way: I struggled a lot, and it started not to become so pleasant to be a football player at that time.
So when you were in the semi-pro environment, going from that professional status, what was the main changes? Because obviously you were training less, the workload is less, and obviously your situation, it was good. But what was the main differences probably in training, right? And the coaches and players around you?
Look, mostly the type of structure around a team. Of course, I was training less. My teammates at that time also. The type of competition was different. So in the end, it was not easy for me because in the end, I was coming from another type of level. But football players have to have this capacity to adapt, and adaptability is a key factor when it comes to playing career or to player development. And we developed this capacity to adapt to our environment, and that's what I did. I continued to play, and by the time I made my decisions that by the time I would finish my education, I would finish to play. So it was just like that.
So did you always want to become a coach? Like in your early days playing football, you're always eyeing that up?
No, never. I even thought I would not have the profile to become a coach. I'm as a personality or personality traits, I'm a very discreet person. I don't like too much the highlights, and I was okay in with that. So I planned my life or my working career as finishing the education, finishing the university, and take another path, obviously in the business world, because my course was related to business and management. But circumstances sometimes open other doors for us. And my previous coach, one of my previous coaches at my local club, he came to me and he proposed me to become or to coordinate the academy of the club. I did not see it very well, but in the end I accepted because it was an interesting challenge for me. And I don't know, maybe 2-3 weeks after, the club sports director came to me and told me, look, I need you to come with me and meet with the head coach of the first team. So we had a meeting with him and he told me, look, I'm sick, I have a disease, and I cannot continue working as the head coach of the first team. I need you to help me with that. And that's how it started. I was not planning it. I was not prepared for it. I did not have any diplomas of coaching courses. And well, it was supposed to be for a couple of months until he would recover from his problems. But in the end, he told me, look, you have to deal with it yourself. I'm not coming back. So this is what I was thrown to the lions and I had to survive.
And that career that you first started off in coaching lasted around 4 years, and to be in that environment in the third division of Portugal, that was quite some step up for you.
Yeah, but when you are in football, especially when you have the opportunity to play at different levels, you create some connections. You find a way to link yourself with the business, with the football world, and this is how it works. In the end, I saw myself in a situation where I would have to survive or to thrive. So I started to enroll in courses and I made my way through all of it. My first season in Moreirense at that time as a coach was difficult. We avoided relegation to the regionals, and the next season, practically with the same team, we got promoted to the second. So from that moment on, I thought, well, I can succeed in this type of challenge. So this is how it happened. Of course, me as a character, I like to improve. I like to know more. I question things. I'm not very. I have a capacity to reflect about things, and I consider myself a lifelong learner. So this pushed me to go beyond my comfort, and whenever I had the opportunity, I attended some internships. I went to see training sessions of other teams from another level, coaches from top teams and top leagues. So this is how I managed to go through.
So you were in Portugal at this time. You were developing yourself as a young coach, and obviously your time at Moreirense ended. Okay, so what came up next? Can you tell everyone how you decided to come about leaving?
To leave? Sorry, I couldn't understand.
To leave Moreirense that you were at the club.
Look, it felt quite natural for me to look for a next step, because once I started I embraced the challenge of becoming a coach, I thought, well, Moreirense can help me to grow in this endeavor. But at some point, I thought it's not good enough for me. I need to look for other options. and that's why I decided to leave after 4 years. And then I went. I gained more experience in another context, and finally I ended up in a club that I was serving when I was a player, which is Académica. And Académica back then was one of the best clubs in Portugal. Unfortunately, it's not the current state of the club, but at that time it was a strong and powerful club.
So it was your first top flight role in 2003, 2004. You've just been thrown again. You've gone from starting off as a player, not wanting to get into the coaching world, and then all of a sudden, within 5 or 6 years, you're in the top flight of Portugal.
Yeah, it was very quick. And when these type of challenges face you, or you face this type of challenges, you always think, well, I'm ready. Why not? I'm ready. But in the end, I did not do bad. I did quite well. But I think the thing is, I believe that from my experience, becoming a coach throughout our careers with I don't know, I can speak for myself. I'm almost 30 years of careers of coaching career. I'm much better prepared and I'm much better coach I am now than I was then. Of course, if I was as prepared as I am now, I would have done even better. But it is what it is. We all have to go through our own path, face our own choices, and that's the way you have to face it.
So, in your career, you've ended up going to a variety of countries, including Kuwait and Switzerland. But just before you moved to these clubs, you had 2 short spells, one of them at CD Nacional. Could you speak to me about that?
Well, Nacional was a quite normal next step after Académica. Nacional is a good club, still is. At that time, they wanted to. The club was in trouble, and they wanted to prepare everything for the next season. I entered in the middle of the season. They wanted to avoid relegation and start to prepare and plan a season for the next year. So that's what I did. And in the end, I had 1 extra year of contract. That my relationship with the president, the way the club was doing, they were doing things, it was not quite. We did not have the same or share the same vision. And in the end, we decided to go separate ways. I proposed this to the president. Of course, he told me, but you still have another year of contract. And I decided to leave the country, the club, because it would be difficult for me to be being questioned about my own decisions all the time, and I would not allow interference in my own scope of work. So I decided to leave, and it was a friendly decision in the end.
Well, I was going to say, how did that decision really come about? Because as quite an inexperienced manager, obviously growing into your shoes, as you were, to have this disagreement with the board would have been quite imposing, right?
Yeah, look, we have to have our own terms, our own values, and we grow as a technical perspective. But I think we also have to grow as a person, as a professional. And for me, it's not acceptable that I'm told what to do. If someone hires me, it's because they trust my work. So I will have to have my own room, my own space to perform and to deliver.
Moreirense came up after Nacional. That was quite a short-term role again. Was there a disagreement with the board there, or was it just your contract expiring?
No, I was a player back before in Moreirense, And I think this was the worst decision I ever made, because I was one of the youngest coaches rising up in the football scene in Portugal, and because of this emotional connection with the people and with the club, I decided to join them. But I did not join them in a good moment. They did not have a good squad. It was an old squad, and I had problems, and I had problems in achieving what I had planned for, and in the end, the club sacked me. And obviously it was not a nice and pleasant thing to go through, but in the end, the rest of the season proved my point, because in the end the club got relegated. I left, I think, in January, something like that, end of January, and in May, end of May, they got relegated. So it was not, sometimes in order we have achieve results, we need the right context, the right circumstances, and they were not the right circumstances at that moment.
So then you got to move to Kuwait, which is pretty cool as a player or a manager to go overseas and do your profession. So Kuwait, how did that one come about?
Look, I had several approaches, 1, 2, 3 seasons before, not necessarily to Kuwait, but to Middle East. I remember my first contact was to Saudi Arabia, and I always rejected that possibility because I was a rising coach in the Portuguese First League. So I decided it was not the best moment. But after Moreirense, which was well, I had to pay the consequences of choosing to go to Moreirense under that circumstances. I thought it would be maybe the best option to go and try to go abroad and experience something different. Another type of culture, another type of football, another type of circumstances. And I challenged myself over there because, it's not an easy move to a completely different geographical area of the globe. And I decided to go, and there I went.
And do you regret going there? Because you were only there for a year, but Kuwait sounds like quite a cool place to go and coach.
Look, I could have stayed. In fact, I was already invited several times to return to the club. The thing is, the club was not as organized as I expected. The club did not have the resources to have the ambition to fight for the best places in the league, and it became not so appealing for me as a professional. So I remember they were pushing me from late December, January, to renew a contract, and I always said, let's do it in the end of the season. But in the end of the season, I thought it wouldn't be the best option for me, because I would just trying to fight with uneven weapons. So I decided that this wouldn't be the next step I was aiming for.
In your return to Portugal, you returned to, I believe, the second tier, to Estoril, and you finished fourth with them in your season there. So again, that's quite a good record for you coming back after a couple of difficult periods with other teams.
Yeah, at that time, Estoril was close to the relegation area, and the club was going through a lot of difficulties. The players had several months of salaries to be paid. There was a moment where the club was dealing with the natural and normal problems on a daily basis. It was quite difficult to manage the club. Players not willing to train, trying to go on strike, and I could manage that. It was a very good moment of learning, but in the end we could bring the team up, even losing key players in the transfer window. We were able to arrive till the end of the season with a very satisfying place, even though at some point we started we believed that we could reach the promotion zone.
And what do you make of the team that you were around? Because obviously to finish fourth, you would have needed a good enough team. Did you bring anyone in? Did you get rid of anyone?
During the season?
Yes.
No, we lost some players, some key players in January because they had offers. And normally the ones who have other opportunities to leave are the ones who are performing better. So we lost I believe 4 or 5 players at that time. But luckily, the players that were behind, they were willing and desiring to show up. And sometimes football is a matter of opportunities.
So when you decided to leave, obviously things were going quite well. You finished in a very good space. Did you decide that it was just, again, the right time to end on a high to then seek another opportunity?
Look, that particular situation was quite difficult. I believe we had 4 or 5 months of salary behind, and the club owner was in a moment of negotiation with another owner or potential owner. And at that time I had offers from other clubs, luckily from the first league. And I waited because I would love to continue in the project. The club was quite good, and I liked Estoril at that time. But I had offers from first league, and I couldn't wait anymore. So I decided to leave, and I left to Belenenses.
But at Belenenses, they had some financial issues as well, right?
Yeah, very, very, very critical moment in Belenenses history.
And did you manage to steer the ship? Because going into that environment, you would have known all of this, and it probably would have been a bit more realistic going into it, knowing the situation.
Yeah, but in Portugal, it's not that easy to find, at least at that moment. It was not easy to find the right projects. Most of the teams were struggling or dealing with the financial difficulties. That was quite common and normal. So I went to Belenenses, which is an historical club. And unfortunately, I only last until December because I could not build the squad I wanted. We had to use a lot of players coming from the academy. I believe 7 or 8 at that time. Some of them going directly to the starting 11. And I knew we would have to face a period of difficulties because young players, they need the time to adapt, to adjust to another type of environment, not a type of competition. And well, December, end of November, we had some major players having injuries, and we struggled for some matches. And in the end, football is cruel, and we have to pay the price. We coaches, and it is what it is.
Well, you managed to end up going to Cyprus, and there you achieved a record 30 points, avoiding the drop of relegation. That was probably a very big relief for you, knowing that in these past few seasons that you spent in management, it didn't quite go to plan.
Look, I arrived to the club and we were, I think, the last in the table. And in the regular season, I believe we lost only 2 matches. Well, we ended up saving the club from relegation. I was offered an opportunity to renew or to make a new contract. But honestly, I did not like much the way the club was being run in terms, for us to have a decent project, we need to be very steady in terms of decisions. We cannot be impulsive. And the club was being run on a very emotional way. And from my experience at that time, I thought that it would not be the right step to make. So I decided to go back to Portugal, and at that time, not even coaching anybody for some months.
Yeah, and it was quite a while until you got offered the job in Switzerland at a pretty reputable club, Servette FC. To go there to experience that really top tier environment, how did you find that?
Well, it was a very good experience in terms of competition. The first league in Switzerland is amazing. I would say football in Switzerland is quite interesting, even though it's not considered as one of the best leagues in Europe. But I find it very competitive because teams are very similar in terms of potential. It's competitions of out of 4 rounds, so every team plays 4 times against the same opponent, and this was quite interesting. It's quite professional, even though football there is very physical, more physical than in Portugal, for example. But it was a very good experience. Again, in a club which were dealing with or facing bankruptcy. So it was a difficult moment, and I left the club 1 month before the end of the season, not due to results, but because management changed and they made decisions to bring new people, and in order they could save some money, and I was the sacrificed one. In the end, I left the club in a position that they could reach Europa League, which they did in the end of the season. For me, it was a remarkable work. But again, I was out. This time not due to results, but this is what we have to face in this very demanding and competitive world.
And then the last job that you've had of the main stature has been Grasshopper Club in Switzerland again, and they're such a reputable team. That would have been such a high in your career.
It was an amazing experience. Again, I enjoyed a lot to work in Switzerland. We developed a very good team in terms of youth players. We used a lot of young players. Our squad was probably one of the youngest ones in the league. It's very important to say that we were first from the round 1 or from the first day until the end of the season. And this is not an easy achievement. We achieved our goals, we won a title, and I really don't have anything bad to say about Grasshoppers. But again, club owners, they make decisions based on circumstances. Sometimes they don't have a plan, or their plan is not according to what is typical. So again, I had to accept the situation that I would have to go. It was against my will. I was enjoying, and I really believe that we had quite a decent structure to move the club into the next level. And I strongly believe that if I would have continued, we would aim higher. We would be even able to compete at an international level. But this kind of decisions also show the type of clubs or the type of place that the clubs end up with, because they've been fighting not to be relegated every season for the last 4 seasons, 3 or 4. Yeah, so this shows a little bit the type of management and the type of project clubs have or don't have.
So when you were at Grasshoppers, you managed to work with some really good players, including TOTI, who's now at Wolverhampton Wanderers in the Premier League. What did he have in him when you were there? Did you ever know that he would eventually reach the Premier League?
Look, TOTI was a very young player. He was 18, I believe. He's one of those players that was very young and immediately went straight to the starting 11 because he had a tremendous potential, physicality, and as I told you before, Swiss leagues are very, very physical, and on top of it, he has the right mentality. He's a player with an amazing capacity to learn. He's very keen to listen and to question and to improve. And within 1 season, he had a tremendous improvement, and this opened the doors for him to go to Wolverhampton and stay in the squad. So it's not a surprise for me. I would not say that it was easy for him to reach the level he is now, but I can only say that it's only due to his work ethics, his mentality.
So what do you want to do now? Because obviously you've been out of first team management for quite some time. You've been doing a few bits on the side, but since 2021, not too much of a notable level. So what do you want next? Are you seeking a return to management quite quickly?
Look, I'm now involved in more in management than in coaching per se. I became the president of my local club, or the chairman, and I'm trying to develop a project in order we can bring the academy of the club to a higher level. And this is something that I started last season. And at the moment, I'm also, because since 1 year ago, I'm also in Saudi Arabia, embracing a project of developing an academy for an emergent club in Saudi Arabian ecosystem. So this I'm enjoying a lot. We are growing a lot. The club is Alula Sports Club. We've been promoting the first team sequentially to the next tier, and I hope next season we will be playing on the top league. And besides that, we are developing a structure, developing systems, bringing the right people in order we can become one of the best academies in the kingdom. I believe we are already. Within 1 year, we did a lot of things. This is another challenging season we are going to face. But I strongly believe, and all the board and our CEO, we believe that we are able to bring the club to a next level.
And in these last couple of years, the last thing I want to ask you is, has there been any managerial jobs that have landed on your desk, aside from the ones that you've already said yes to?
Yes, but through the ages, I became a little bit more, I would not say picky, but more demanding on the type of projects and I would say projects, not jobs, because I'm a guy of projects, and I don't like to be part of something that is a short-term thing, and I would rather feel excited and enthusiastic about something that we want to make possible, to have a vision, grow for it, see things grow, and this is the type of challenge I would rather be on or in. So I'm enjoying a lot. I'm not thinking too much about coaching a team, but I think that I could say that I'm much better. I have a better preparation now. I understand player development. I know what's competing at the highest level. I have a deeper knowledge of the whole chain, and I think I like or I'm enjoying where I'm at the moment.
Well, João, I really appreciate you joining me today. All the best with your career and best of luck for the season.
Thank you, Jamie. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and all the best for you.